Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful framework for dealing with a difficult life, and it comes from the work of clinical psychologist Jordan Peterson. Now, this isn't a philosophy that's going to promise you an easy ride. Instead, it offers something way deeper, a meaningful one. So, where does this all start? Well, it begins with a pretty blunt, stark premise. Life is suffering. At its core, it's tragic. Now, this isn't just about being pessimistic for the sake of it. It's presented as the fundamental problem we all have to face. Before you can build anything, you've got to acknowledge the shaky ground you're standing on. So, what is this problem of being? Well, it's way more than just having a bad day. It's something that's woven into the very structure of our existence.
Let's break this down. The challenge, according to this view, has 4 parts. First, there's suffering that you just can't escape. Second, there's real malevolence out there. Not just mistakes, but people intentionally trying to cause harm. Then you've got your own weaknesses and flaws to deal with. And finally, there's just how random and arbitrary it all is, how hardship can just strike for no good reason. It's a tough hand to be dealt, for sure.
So, when you stare all that in the face, it forces you to ask a pretty serious question. If life is this brittle, and you yourself are flawed and fragile, then why even bother? What's the point of even trying?
So what's the antidote to all this? Well, the answer is probably not what you're thinking. It's not about trying to be happy, which is seen as a pretty unreliable guide. No, the real answer lies in a completely different direction.
And this brings us to a really crucial distinction. Happiness. It's described as thin gruel. It's nice when you have it, but it's fleeting. The second tragedy strikes, it's gone. Meaning, on the other hand, that's deep. It's sustaining. Meaning is what holds you steady when you're in the middle of a storm. Okay, so how do you get that kind of meaning? It's not something you just find, like a treasure. It has to be earned. And here's the core idea. The kind of meaning that can stand up to real tragedy comes with a price tag. And that price is voluntarily taking on responsibility.
But let's be clear, responsibility here means a lot more than just, paying your bills. It's the voluntary choice to pick up a burden. It's deciding, I'm going to make things better, and you start with the things you can actually control. Yourself, your immediate family, your local community. That act, that choice, is presented as the very thing that gives life meaning. Okay, so adopt responsibility. Sounds great, right? But what does that actually look like? How do you put it into practice? Well, the next step is to create a direction for yourself, what's called a noble aim. Here's the game plan. First, you develop a really clear vision of who you want to be, based on your own deepest values. Really think about what your life would look like if you were taking proper care of yourself. Then, you turn that vision into an actual strategy. And here's the most important part. You aim for small, tiny improvements every single day. And really, this whole thing kicks off with a question you have to ask yourself. If you could become the person that you personally would most admire, what would that actually look like? How would they act? What would they do every day? That picture, that becomes your target. Now, here's a huge rule for this to actually work. You have to stop comparing yourself to other people. It's a sucker's game. You don't know their story, their advantages, their private hells. The only comparison that matters is you versus the you of yesterday. And the goal is simple. Just be a little bit better today than you were the day before. That tiny, incremental progress, it's argued that over time that becomes an absolutely unstoppable force. But look, let's be real. This path of self-improvement, it's not going to be a walk in the park. It's not a straight line. It means you're going to have to confront the things you're afraid of, the parts of the world you just don't understand yet. And to represent these obstacles, there's this really powerful metaphor, the dragon of chaos. What is that? Well, it's that unexpected problem at work. It's that awkward conversation you've been avoiding. It's that moment when your perfect plan completely falls apart. It's what shows up when your map of the world turns out to be wrong. And how you deal with this dragon? Well, that's everything. You can run from it, or you can turn and face it. The argument is that if you voluntarily confront the mistake, the dragon, you find an opportunity. Inside that very error is what's called the gold. It's the new information you need to fix your map
and become stronger. So this really boils down to a fundamental choice about how you want to live. Is your goal safety? Just stay in your little burrow where nothing can get you? Or is your goal to be strong, so strong that you can go wherever you want and have a real adventure? The argument is pretty clear. Becoming competent enough for an adventure is a much better deal than a lifetime of just being safe.
So what's the big payoff? You take on all this responsibility, you go out and you confront these dragons. What's the ultimate reward for all that hard work? It's a complete transformation of who you are. And this brings us to maybe the single most important rule in this entire philosophy. Don't sacrifice the person you could become tomorrow for the person you are today. It's a call to put your potential first, to value the process of becoming more than the comfort of staying the same. So, you see, the prize at the end of this journey, it's not some state of constant happiness. It's the development of your character. It's becoming a strong, competent individual, someone who can stand up straight when life gets tragic, who can be a source of strength for their family and their community, and who lives in a way that truly justifies all the pain and struggle of existence. And so this whole philosophy kind of boils down to one last, really simple but powerful question for you. You know the stupid things you do, we all do. We know the things that get in our own way and make our lives worse. The path to a more meaningful life might just begin with one single decision: to stop doing them. So the final question is, what might you become if you just stopped? That's the real adventure.